Thank you for listening to Depictions Media Radio. Welcome to Policy and Rights, the show about human rights and government policy. And welcome back, everyone. Today is April 23, 2020. And first up today we have Justin Trudeau, and he's trying to give us some words of encouragement that the restrictions, one, will not last forever, and that he's put together an immune task force and an immune plan that has 3 pillars to it to do research, and he's allocated $1.1 billion towards his research to find a treatment and cure to help us become immune to COVID-19. And this task force is some of the best minds in the country as far as epidemics and immune and virus treatments, including Dr. Tam. So the federal government is taking steps forward to not only flatten the curve, but now they're trying to do things to make the number of cases come down and make COVID-19 disappear from Canada. So let's listen to what Justin Trudeau has to say on this for right now.
These are tough times, but there is reason to hope. When it comes to COVID-19, what we're doing is working. And to continue on the right track, we need to be thinking not just about the next weeks, but about the next months. We need medium-term and long-term solutions. On that front, I can announce today that we're taking another step forward. We're putting in place an additional $1.1 billion for a national medical and research strategy to address COVID-19. This plan has 3 pillars: research on vaccines and other treatments, supports for clinical trials, and expanding national testing and modeling. Let me start with the first pillar on research. Under this plan, we're investing close to $115 million for research into vaccines and treatments being developed in hospitals and universities across the country. This is on top of the funding we've already provided to support vaccine development in Canada. The second pillar of the plan is to make sure that once we have potential vaccines and treatments, we can test a wide range of options. Under this plan, we will invest over $662 million for clinical trials led by Canada. A vaccine is the long-term solution to this virus, but these drugs will take months to develop, test, fabricate, and roll out. So until we have something ready, we need to control the spread of the virus. And that's where the third pillar of this plan comes in. We're investing $350 million to expand national testing and modeling of COVID-19. This includes creating the COVID-19 Immunity Task Force. The task force will operate under the direction of a leadership group which will include Dr. David Naylor, Dr. Catherine Hankins, Dr. Tim Evans, Dr. Theresa Tam, and Dr. Mona Nemer. We are bringing together top health experts and scientists from leading institutions across the country. Canada's best and brightest will be working on serology testing, blood testing, to track and understand immunity to COVID-19. They'll be looking at key questions like how many people beyond those we've already tested have had COVID-19, whether you're immune once you've had it, and if so, how long that lasts. Over 2 years, we will be testing at least 1 million Canadians as a part of this study. The findings of the research will help with everything from rollouts of a potential vaccine to determining which public health measures are most effective going forward. We will get valuable data, including disaggregated data, to understand the impact on vulnerable populations. And we will also leverage new and existing lab capacity for research. The better we understand this virus, its spread, and its impact on different people, the better we can fight it and eventually defeat it. While this vital research is happening, we're also staying focused on what we can do right now to control COVID-19 and get back to normal as soon as possible. Testing is key. We've now reached 20,000 tests daily, almost double where we were earlier this month. But testing must increase even further before we can reopen and restart our normal activities as a country. You've been doing your part by staying home and practicing physical distancing. It's working, and we can't afford to waste this progress. Aujourd'hui, j'annonce qu'on met en place une stratégie médicale et de recherche d'une valeur de 1,1 milliard de dollars pour lutter contre la COVID-19. Le premier volet de cette stratégie porte sur les vaccins et les traitements. On a investi près de 115 millions de dollars dans la recherche sur les vaccins dans les hôpitaux et dans les universités à travers le pays. Ça s'ajoute aux fonds qu'on a déjà alloués pour développer des vaccins ici au Canada. Le deuxième volet de notre stratégie consiste à s'assurer que lorsqu'on aura des vaccins et des traitements potentiels, on pourra tester plusieurs options d'utilisation possibles. On va donc investir près de 662 millions de dollars dans les essais cliniques. Et le troisième volet, c'est d'investir dans les tests pour modéliser la maladie. On est en train de mettre sur pied le groupe de travail sur l'immunité face à la COVID-19. Ce groupe de travail sera dirigé par le docteur David Naylor, la docteure Catherine Hankins, le docteur Tim Evans, avec l'appui de la docteure Tam et de la docteure Niemer. Ils vont coordonner des tests sanguins qui vont nous aider à retracer le virus et à mieux comprendre comment on peut s'immuniser contre la COVID-19. Les conclusions de la recherche vont nous aider à faire plusieurs choses, que ce soit de rendre un vaccin accessible ou de déterminer quelles mesures de santé publique sont les plus efficaces et doivent être adaptées. Pendant qu'on mène cette recherche vitale, on continue de réfléchir à ce qu'on peut faire en ce moment pour contenir la COVID-19 et revenir à une vie normale aussi vite que possible. Les tests, c'est ce qu'il y a de plus important. On est rendu à environ 20 000 tests par jour à l'échelle du pays. Mais on doit continuer d'augmenter notre capacité à tester avant que la vie reprenne son cours. Right now, we're seeing terrible tragedies in long-term care facilities across the country. This is unacceptable. If you're angry, frustrated, scared, you're right to feel this way. We can do better. We need to do better. Because we are failing our parents, our grandparents, our elders, the greatest generation who built this country. We need to care for them properly. Canadians need to pull together. There have been requests for military assistance by both Ontario and Quebec, which of course we will be answering. Our women and men in uniform will step up with the valor and courage they have always shown. In the short term, we will be there with support so that provinces can get control of this situation. But this is not a long-term solution. In Canada, we shouldn't have soldiers taking care of seniors. Going forward, in the weeks and months to come, we will all have to ask tough questions about how it came to this. We will all have to do more to get through this terrible situation. En ce moment, on voit des tragédies épouvantables dans les CHSLD à travers le pays. C'est inacceptable. Si vous êtes fâché, frustré ou inquiet, vous avez raison de vous sentir comme ça. On doit faire mieux. Parce qu'on laisse tomber nos parents, nos grands-parents, nos aînés, les membres de la plus grande génération qui ont bâti notre pays. On doit s'occuper d'eux comme ils le méritent. Le Québec et l'Ontario nous ont demandé l'aide de l'armée. C'est ces demandes qu'on va accepter. Nos militaires iront prêter main forte, comme ils le font toujours. Mais il ne s'agit pas d'une solution à long terme. Au Canada, c'est pas nos militaires qui devraient prendre soin de nos aînés. Au cours des prochaines semaines et des prochains mois, on va devoir examiner comment on en est arrivé là. On va tous devoir faire plus pour traverser ces situations qui est absolument terrible. Tout le monde y met du sien pour traverser cette période. On fait tous partie de la même équipe. Pendant que nous faisons notre part, je sais que tout le monde va faire sa part. C'est ensemble qu'on va s'en sortir. C'est ensemble qu'on va revenir en force. Merci.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We'll now go to the phone for questions. One question, one follow-up. Operator?
Thank you. Merci. First question, Althea Raj, Huffington Post. Line open.
Good morning. Yesterday you said you were going to continue working with the Finance Department and business associations to ensure that small businesses will get the support they need. Many self-employed individuals feel like they have been forgotten. They can't apply for interest-free loans because they have no payroll. And many have thousands of dollars in fixed costs every month, so the CRB changes really do nothing for them. They feel that your government has been more focused on employers and employees, and many face the real possibility of losing their businesses or going bankrupt. So could you tell us what changes you are envisioning for them?
As we said from the very beginning, we worked on measures to help as many people as possible. We brought in targeted measures to help people who'd lost a paycheck, including people who were self-employed. We've moved forward with a wage subsidy that ensures that people who can remain connected to their jobs.
Okay, one of the biggest questions, and I know as listeners to this particular podcast system, we're all self-employed contractors, that sort of thing. And this question was posed by a writer at the Huffington Post about support for people like us. So let's hear what Justin Trudeau actually had to say about wage subsidies and things that would support small business owners that don't really have a payroll, and that we're contractors and freelancers. So let's hear what the answer is. Okay, hold on.
People who are falling through the cracks. That is why we continue to work with industry groups, with stakeholders, with MPs and community members across the country who are feeding us challenges and possible solutions. And of course, we are working with an extraordinary public service to deliver those solutions to Canadians.
Follow-up, Althea?
Okay, but that doesn't... Oh, well, that's your answer. Do you regret this patchwork approach regarding the CERB? It's clear that the need is a lot greater than the government anticipated when it drew up the program weeks ago, and I know that there are a number of people in your caucus who argued that it would have been far easier, and it would be far easier to give everyone who's lost income or lost the opportunity to earn income the ability to apply for help and just tax it back from those who perhaps didn't need it as much next year. I mean, did you make the right call, and are you so stuck on this current course of action that you will not deviate from it?
We knew from the very beginning that targeted support to the people who needed it was the best way to do it, and that's why we moved forward with the Canada Emergency Response Benefit that has delivered benefits to over 8 million Canadians. Why we moved forward with the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy that is ensuring that people can stay connected to their workplace even if they're not actually doing the work anymore, so that we can bounce back quickly. But every step of the way, we've said we will.
Okay, now we have Adrian Dix and Bonnie Henry from the British Columbia Ministry of Health. And, of course, Bonnie Henry has done a lot of hard work in coming up with the plans to help us manage the number of cases that are here in British Columbia and keeping the number of cases down as far as possible. She, in this next segment, is cautioning us as we have actually flattened the curve and they're working to start bringing number of cases down. We are she'll say that we're seeing some declines, but we are probably not ready to just open everything up and go back to the way things were. So, as hear what she has to say and her cautions to us as we continue down this path with COVID-19. So here we go.
Is Dr. Bonnie Henry, BC's Provincial Health Officer. We're honored to be here on the territory of the Kwanghan-speaking people of the Esquimalt and the Songhees First Nations. I wanted to thank everyone who participated last night. 11,000 people tuned into the virtual town hall hosted by the Northern Health Authority, our fourth one out of 5. It was co-hosted by MLAs Doug Donaldson and Mike Bernier, and with CEO Kathy Ulrich and MHO, Dr. Raina Fumerton, who received and answered many thoughtful questions from the public. Tonight, for those of you who are living in interior health or are interested, they're hosting their virtual town hall with MLAs Norm Letnick and Katrina Conroy, Dr. Sue Pollock, the medical officer of health, the health officer there, and Susan Brown, the CEO of Interior Health. And you can get more information on the government website about that. I want to express my appreciation to my colleague in the legislature, Norm Letnick, the opposition health critic, who came up with this idea. We've worked together on this in an all-party effort, but I want to express a particular appreciation to Norm, who you can see tonight on the Interior Health Town Hall. And I wanted to say that we are not doing a briefing tomorrow, Friday at 3 o'clock. We'll be doing a briefing Saturday morning, and we'll have more information about that tomorrow. But that will be with Dr. Henry. And with that, for today's COVID-19 briefing, I wanted to introduce Dr. Bonnie Henry.
Thank you and good afternoon. We'll start off with the number of new cases. We have 29 new test positive cases today, bringing our total of cases in British Columbia to 1,824. That includes 755 people in the Vancouver Coastal Health Region, 760 in Fraser Health Region, 111 on Vancouver Island, 156 in Interior Health Region, and 42 people in the Northern Health Region. In addition, we have one new long-term care facility outbreak, the Hawthorne Park and Orchard Manor in Interior Health, where there's a single case at the moment, and outbreak protocols have been implemented at that facility. We also have 2 new outbreaks in acute care units, in the Ridge Meadow Hospital and Lions Gate Hospital, and again, they are both being actively managed as outbreaks in those facilities. That brings us up to 347 cases in long-term care, assisted living, or acute care in the province, including 217 residents or patients and 130 staff. We have, on the positive side, 10 of the long-term care facility outbreaks now that had been declared over the past number of weeks are now declared over with no new cases for 2 incubation periods. In addition, we have another community outbreak. This again is in a poultry plant, the Superior Poultry Plant in Coquitlam, where 2 cases have been identified as positive so far, but there is an ongoing investigation that is happening as of yesterday when the first case was identified. So ongoing investigation and testing by Fraser Health. This is a sister plant to the United Poultry outbreak that had been announced earlier this week. And there continues to be an investigation at that plant with 29 people identified as COVID-19 positive associated with that outbreak. We are now at 78 cases of COVID-19 positive inmates and staff at the Mission Medium Institution, the Federal Correctional Institution, that we continue to work in collaboration with Fraser Health in the province and Correctional Services Canada to manage that very challenging outbreak, and that we expect to be ongoing for some time. Of our cases, 103 are in hospital currently, and of those, 44 are currently in critical care or ICU care. We have an additional 4 deaths to report in the past day, bringing our total of people who've died from COVID-19 in British Columbia to 94. That was 1 in the Fraser Health region and 3 in Vancouver Coastal. And our condolences and our thoughts are with the families and the care providers and the communities who have lost these people. We have 1,092 people who have fully recovered as of today. We've been talking this week about, what does the future hold since we presented some of the modeling. And as we are seeing around the world, and is becoming very clear to us, we are going to be living with COVID-19 in our communities for some time. And we need to develop our way of managing that and living with that. And we've seen some examples of that around the world as people are coming into the second phase. And when we think about the peak of our epidemic, that's sort of the halfway point. And in several places around the world, including here in Canada, we're at that or past that halfway point. We have been fortunate in many ways in British Columbia in that we have not had a dramatic increase, that accelerated upswing that we saw in many other places, and much of that is due to the way that British Columbians have responded together to keep their distance and to do the things that we need to do to try and manage this in our community here. And we need to continue to look at how we manage our pandemic in British Columbia. And we manage that risk going forward by opening up our industry, by opening up our hospital system, but doing it in a way that it includes vigilance and careful thinking. And it doesn't mean that the virus is going away. So we have to learn how do we live with it without getting ourselves into trouble, without getting one of those explosive outbreaks in our province. We need to start doing that. We need to reach a manageable number of new cases. That doesn't mean that we have to have no cases every day for a number of weeks. We need to have a manageable number. We need to have a number that we can identify quickly, that we know people who are getting sick are getting tested, that we can manage your isolation of contacts so that people who have been exposed, if and when they become sick, get the care they need, but also do not pass it on to others. And we need to manage these clusters and outbreaks that we're finding in our communities. So that is our challenge, all of us, in the coming weeks, so that we can increase our contacts, we can increase our social connections, and we can increase our economic connections. It is a very careful balance, and it's going to be difficult for us to find that. But we also know that we can do this. We have had many essential industries that have continued, and we have put in place guidance to help us manage those industries in a way that protects both the people who are working, but also our families and our communities that we connect with. So it depends on us doing our part, even as we loosen restrictions in British Columbia. One of the examples that we have, we've developed an order, a public health order, that refers to, that provides direction for agriculture, aquaculture, forestry, and resources. And it includes how do we manage those industries, those important, essential things that we need in British Columbia in a way that protects all of us. And it includes guidance that will be posted in the coming hours, I think, as well as things like appointing an infection prevention and control coordinator for these important types of sites where we have people working and living in accommodations and common accommodations. We've learned from the outbreaks that we've seen. We've seen temporary foreign workers have experience with an outbreak of COVID-19. We've seen it in most recently in the poultry plants. We've watched what's happened in other places, in northern Alberta, for example. So we are taking those learnings and we're applying them to our situation as we move forward here in British Columbia. And this is what we all need to think about. What does it mean for me, for my business, for my industry, for my sports? How do we as a family connect once we start having some leeway with restrictions? But we need to be very careful, and we need to be thoughtful about it, and we need to consider what we are doing and how it's going to impact our family carefully. A misstep in the wrong direction puts us all at risk, because we have seen how quickly this virus can take hold and can be transmitted and cause serious illness and hospitalizations and unfortunately deaths. So we need to think in the coming weeks about the widening our personal circles. We've been talking very much about how important it is for us to stay home, to have our connections be our family, our households, and to minimize those connections with people outside our households. As we expand our roles in the coming weeks, if we expand our circle, we have to do that thoughtfully, and we have to be aware of who in our circle is more at risk of having severe illness. So if I am going back to work, perhaps I need to be careful about who my children are going to go on a play date with. It may be more important that they spend time with their grandparents, that their grandparents are able to care for them when I'm going back to work. And it would mean not having that play date, because then you're exposing your child to the connections of those connections. So it's all complicated, but we need to think about this for our own family, and we need to make those judgments about what's important and how we can manage the risk for ourselves, but also for our community and for our province. And we will be providing more guidance, and I think we need to look at what we have done so far as examples of how we can do this safely. And we have a very limited room to do that. So those are the things that we'll be talking about more in the coming days, but I want people to think about it now and think about the impacts for our own families and our own communities. I also want to say that this is not forever. It is for now, and now may be months, it may be as long as a year, but there is a light at the end of that tunnel, and we have shown that we can do this. We have shown that in the last few months. We will get through this storm working together in the best and safest possible way. Now is not the time to tip the scales against us with careless action. It's the time for patience and for resilience, and to face our pandemic here in BC together, calmly and being kind to each other and staying safe.
Okay, here's Adrian Dix giving us a statement about progress with hospital availability, and making a statement of yes, we do need to mourn those who have passed on, and we do need to still be cautioned about how we gather together to do that. If possible, we should be doing that virtually. Some of the things that of course we've heard that 2 chicken plants have come up positive, workers that are positive with COVID-19, and it's just a sign that we still need to be cautioned and move forward with the caution and the science and everything that Dr. Bonnie Henry is giving to us, and that Adrian Dix, they're both reporting to us about measures that we should just be sticking with until we reach the actual end where COVID-19 is no longer neighboring with us. So here we go with Adrian Dix.
I wanted to start by acknowledging the 4 people who have passed away in the last 24 hours from COVID-19. I think we say consistently, and I think for family members, of course, it's true, and for friends it's true, and for caregivers it's true, but it's true for all of us, that every single person affected by COVID-19 matters, and in particular those who've lost their lives from COVID-19, and we want to pass on to everyone our condolences and our thoughts in what has to be a difficult time. This is, as all of us know, a very difficult time to have grief, to mourn, and yet we have to find ways to do that and to support one another in the most difficult of times. And our hearts go out to everyone who's been affected today. As Dr. Henry has said, we now have 1,824 cases, 1,824 people who have tested positive for COVID-19 in British Columbia. That means that as we look at it slightly differently, 104 people, or 103 people, I should say, hospitalized in BC. That's the same number as yesterday, and it's down from a peak of 149. 53 of those people hospitalized in Fraser Health, 10 in Interior Health, 5 on Vancouver Island, 3 in Northern Health, 32 in the Vancouver Coastal Health Authority. If you look at the number of beds we have available, we have 4,180 beds available. I'm happy to say we had, not happy that there were ER visits, but happy that there's been a restoration of some ER visits. As you know, at the beginning of March, we were getting about 6,500 ER visits every day in BC. That number dropped below 3,000 around April 6th, and we've now had consecutive days where that's come in around 4,000, which means I believe that people who need healthcare services are starting to come back and get healthcare services in the way that they should in BC. I noted yesterday that we've also completed we've canceled approximately 14,000 surgeries that are elective surgeries in BC, or scheduled surgeries as they're more aptly called. We've also completed approximately 12,000 urgent surgeries, ones that with wait times, expected wait times of 2, 4, and 6 weeks for adults, those surgeries, and emergency surgeries that require surgery within 24 to 48 hours. We've done 12,000 of those. We recognize the challenge, though, as we look to reopen elective surgery, and that challenge includes people who require diagnostic testing, require screening. And so while we are in many ways still caught up on the question of urgent surgeries, that category of surgeries I talked about that has continued going on, we know that we will require, as part of our plan, to ensure issues around screening, particularly cancer screening, and diagnostic testing are resumed as well in a way that can protect especially the most affected patients. Dr. Henry has talked about the guidance and the provincial health orders with respect to a number of industries today, aquaculture and agriculture, forestry, including silviculture. These are important changes, and they reflect what we've been doing in BC, which is using public health orders with the leadership of Dr. Henry, with the leadership of the BC CDC, to allow people to continue to work safely. That is our goal, and I think in BC we've in fact kept significant economic activity that hasn't taken place elsewhere because we've pursued that policy aggressively. It requires responsibility on the part of employers and employees, responsibility that's going to be especially required in the period to come. So I wanted to express my appreciation to everyone, especially those in Dr. Henry's office, our medical health officers across BC, across the health authorities, those that work in public health, and the people of the BC CDC for all that they continue to do. As Dr. Henry has said, in the coming days and weeks, we're going to be talking about the changes, about perhaps a next phase in addressing COVID-19 in BC. But there are things that can't change. We have to continue to follow the orders and the guidance required to achieve what we need to achieve in this next period, which includes, it seems to me, continuing to stop the transmission of COVID-19. 1, ensuring that people who are ill with something other than COVID-19 get the treatment they need. 2, including making sure our hospitals and our healthcare facilities aren't overwhelmed. 3, but also increasing economic activity and increasing the social activity we all need as social beings. And that work is something that will require us to work closely together. But it will be as difficult a period as the previous period. Hopefully we can be successful in achieving those goals while in this time, while ensuring that we continue to protect our seniors, while we continue to protect people who are vulnerable, as we continue to protect those in our society. So I wanted to say that shutting down COVID-19, the work we're doing, the work that we have to be 100% all in for, means opening up BC. One is a prerequisite for the other. Easing up on our efforts too soon makes it too easy for COVID-19, too easy for it to spread, too easy for it to claim more of our seniors and elders, and too easy for it to undo all of the sacrifice we've made together. We need to renew BC without rebooting the virus, and that is the work we have to do together. And it means together. What has happened over the last number of weeks? A relative flattening of the curve with the challenge that we've talked about in the last few days, but a relative flattening of the curve is a recognition of what everybody watching us today and everyone in BC has done. But we have to keep going. We have to keep being 100% all in. We have to do it for all of us, for the ones we love and the ones that we don't know.
Okay, our last segment is something uplifting. I have a conversation that I had with Teri Holland. She is an NLP coach. She has done a number of series called Empowered Stories, and she has an empowerment podcast also. Her mission in life is to help us stay empowered, and when we're empowered, we live life to our fullest excellence and do things that are extraordinary to help our communities grow and be safe. So let's listen to what Teri Holland has to say in the conversation I had with her. Hello everybody, I'm here today with Teri Holland, and Teri helps entrepreneurs and high performers to move from where they are to where they want to be in a short period of time. She has studied peak performance and life enhancement over a decade and has over 15 years of experience as an entrepreneur. Teri is a creator and a host of a #1 self-help podcast on iTunes, the Empowerment Life, and founder of the Empowerment Academy. Teri has trained with master trainer Dr. Tad James and is a certified trainer and master practitioner of NLP, hypnotherapy, and timeline therapy and NLP coaching. Welcome to the show, Teri. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Yeah, well, we're having you on today because, hey, we're in this really weird time period of self-isolation and things like that, and I wanted to have you come on and give us your tips on how to survive a crisis, because I guess we're in a crisis.
Yeah, you could say that.
So, tell us a little more about your background before we get started with your tips.
For sure. So I am, as you mentioned in the intro, I'm a trainer of neurolinguistic programming. So that means that I help people find excellence. So NLP is, very simply put, the study of excellence. So I'm really curious about how people operate, how they get results in life, and how they perform at their optimal levels. So that's a little bit about what I do. And my background previously to that, I was in personal training and nutrition. So I really look at my clients from a whole perspective of mindset and their overall health.
Wow. Now, through all the years I've known you, I never knew that you did personal training.
Yeah, I don't do it anymore, but I do use that skill set to coach my clients.
Well, that skill would keep people going, right? Is keep pushing them. Hey, you can reach for the next rung, sort of thing, right?
Exactly.
So we're in this time period of crisis, and one, because you're an experienced entrepreneur, the economy being slow as it is a crisis to entrepreneurs, and they want to know, hey, how do I stay in touch with my clients? How do I ensure my business will be alive at the end of this, right? So do you have any tips towards that first?
For For sure. Yeah, it is. We are in a time of crisis. And, I've heard it said by one of my mentors recently that what we need to call this is the great pause. So, and that right there is changing how we look at things right now, as it's the great pause. And when we talk about a crisis, in Chinese, the word crisis is made of two characters. It's danger meets opportunity. So right now, where we're in this strange state where we've never been here before, none of us have experience in dealing with this, there's also opportunity within that. And the opportunity for business owners is to get very creative and innovative in terms of how we operate our business, what we do, how can we be of service to people now. And I'm seeing business owners do all kinds of extraordinary things right now to keep their businesses alive, and they're finding new ways of serving their clientele. For example, I just did a photo shoot the other day with one of my clients who's a photographer, and we came up with this idea that she would do webcam photography. And so I was fortunate. I got to be her guinea pig, and we did a photo shoot here in my office. She was on FaceTime on my phone. I used a tripod. She told me where to position it in the room and had me change the lighting to how she wanted. And then she took photos from the other side using screen captures and taking photos, and then edited those photos. And I got some really cool shots. And what a great way for a photographer to still be operating right now. And very different photos than what we would have had before. So that's, one way that she's being very innovative in her business, because otherwise she can't meet clients face right now. So it's looking at your business outside the box of how I operated before and what can I do differently now to still maintain my business in that capacity and to find new opportunities. We're seeing businesses completely change their operations to go from producing cosmetics to now creating hand sanitizer or other medical devices. We're seeing people transitioning from careers like a client that I'm working with right now who's going from being a travel agent to transitioning into nutrition because she feels that's where people need support right now. And she has a background in nutrition, so she's completely pivoting her business.
So look outside of the box and maybe pull out some of, because we all have multiple talents, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, so it's what can I do differently and still be of service? If we get stuck in the thinking of, well, this is how I do my business and this is the only way I can do my business, then you're dead in the water. Those are the entrepreneurs who are not going to survive this. It really takes a different kind of thinking to be able to get through this.
Okay. So be open in our thinking and open in our methods.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. So on a personal level, because I know you do personal coaching, and I've met some people that you've helped, and they really did a turnaround in their way of thinking and all that. So on a personal level, do you have any tips for us for surviving this crisis so we don't rip our hair out?
Well, first of all, don't rip your hair out. Your hairstylist will not like that when you go back to them in a few weeks or a few months, as the case may be. But it's really about, we're in this very unique time. And again, even on the personal level, there's opportunity within this. We're seeing people, families reuniting over this, where the family is home together and they're cooking meals together, where maybe they haven't actually sat down to a family dinner with the whole family, and who knows how long before this, because everyone's lives were so busy before. So now there's opportunity for families to reconnect, parents to connect with their children, and to have conversations and do things as a family unit. So it's looking for, what can I do within this? It is really the great pause. Our lives before were so chaotic and so busy, and we've been given this beautiful golden opportunity where in this time you can reassess your life of, what do I want to do next? Are there online courses you want to take? Maybe deepen your skill set. Maybe you want to even look at a new career right now. Maybe it's time to really focus in on your health, because maybe you have time to do that at the moment, to really look at how am I taking care of my body, and is this supporting my health and well-being? Do I want something different for my life? So we can look at it as, this big crisis and a stressful time, or we can look for how are the ways that I could use this as a launching pad to change the direction of my life, to change where I've been. Right. And that's how we get through it, and how you thrive through this is looking at those opportunities. I keep telling my clients, get dressed every day. We see all the memes and the jokes on social media about living in our pajamas, changing from your bedtime pajamas to your daytime pajamas and back again. But it really changes your mindset when you get dressed, when you find some normalcy in your day, when you give yourself those routines. If you set yourself a schedule, even though we're at home, so you get up at the same time, have a morning routine you go through, get yourself dressed, have your shower, do your hair. If you wear makeup, do the things that make you feel normal, like you. And that's going to set you up in a whole different direction for your day. The biggest trap I think we could fall into right now is complacency, where people become apathetic and they start feeling like they have no purpose to their day. Right. And the risk of that is that's where we'll see high levels of depression coming from this. Right. It is, it's vital to maintain that sort of normalcy within your life and find those routines that make you...
To keep the normal schedule, like the Monday through Friday, if you got up at, say, 7 a.m. every day to get ready for work, get up and get the shower and do your hair and all that sort of stuff. How do you break your day up? Is it the same breakup as you come home from work, prepared a meal, that sort of thing?
It could be, or it could be different right now, because a lot of people are home with their kids and they may have some homeschooling activities to do, or some different things they want to do, or maybe they want to take advantage of the time with their families and have some family fun time during the day. It really depends on what your life circumstances look like right now. So for those people, for entrepreneurs at home, I'm still keeping my day planner and I fill it out every day, no matter what I have on the go. If I don't have appointments like this, I'll put it plans, things that just give me some sort of structure so that I know what my day is going to look like. It's different than my day would look like a couple months ago, for sure. But having some sort of system in place where you have a schedule to follow. It's right now, the uncertainty is so high. We don't know what tomorrow's going to look like. We don't know what it's going to look like. So giving yourself, finding that structure and the routine with uncertainty is what...
Right. So... Again, it sounds like you're saying everything's got to just keep everything as normal as possible. So, yeah. There's been a number of people that are saying that we're headed, that our old normal it's gone, and we're headed for a new normal. So how do we prepare for that?
We can't. We don't know what the new normal is going to be yet. What we do know is that our life before is gone. Mm-hmm. What we're experiencing right now is such a massive shift. This is the kind of event that shapes generations. This is what our grandparents would have experienced with World War II. This changed their lives. It changed how they operated day to day. It changed the family unit. It changed their socioeconomic status. It changed everything. And that's what we're experiencing now, is this massive, groundbreaking event that's going to change everything. And no one can predict what it will look like on the other side. So what we had before is gone. And what we're going into, we don't know. And right now we're in this gap time that I refer to as the great pause, because we don't know what's next. What we do know, though, or how I see it, is that the way we were living our lives before was not okay. We kind of needed a shake-up.
Yes.
I think we were too busy. We'd gotten away from a more natural way of living. You know, we weren't taking care of ourselves and what we needed to. We weren't really taking care of our families, and now this is a chance to kind of go back to some of those values and really look at what's important to us, to slow everything down a bit and reassess what's really important in life. I think what will come, even though we don't know what the future is going to look like after this, I think we have the opportunity as a society to.
Okay, since you said that, what is it that you would picture as being great coming from this? Great coming from this.
Oh, I see, families taking more time to spend time as a family. I see, I look at families today before all this happened, and, if I don't have my own children, but I look at my nieces and nephews and how busy they were with activities, and the whole family is rushing around from event to event every single day, and classes and lessons and everything. And I see a lot of that slowing down, where people are taking more time to really enjoy community as families. I see people returning to a more natural way of living, paying attention to what they're consuming, paying attention to the kind of food they're putting in their body again. So I can see us really maintaining a lot of these new behaviors that we've taken on. So families spending more time together intentionally. I can see the return of the family dinner each night. I can see the workplace, the business community changing, where, I think a lot of big companies are starting to realize that maybe their employees don't need to be in an office to be productive. Mm-hmm. Maybe they could as productive or even more productive working from home, giving them a better home and life and work-life balance. So I could see that changing. I see a lot of people right now, they're posting about, they're making sourdough bread seems to be the thing, that everyone wants to make their own sourdough bread. And I'm seeing people planting vegetable gardens. So I could see a return to a more holistic way of living, where we start to grow our own food again. We start to, maybe not all of it, but we start to take responsibility for some of our food. We start to make things from scratch again. I see a lot of things slowing down, where we're stopping so busy, rushing from place to place all day, and really slowing down and spending our time more intentionally. So I could see a lot of really positive change.
Yeah, I think you're right about because my wife and I we've been trying to find the sourdough starter that works in our house. It's becoming quite the experiment that way. We're kind of lucky that since we've been together for the past 10 years, that we've always had a lot of time together. But I can see how for other people that there are always two ships passing, and the connection not be there. So yeah. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Awesome. And really good to see you. And I hope that you and your husband are doing well.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
So, all right. Okay, thank you for listening, everybody, and we will talk to you all later. Here at Depictions Media, we know how you feel during this time of crisis, and we want to help. We want to help you stay in touch with your clients. We want to help you get your business back on track. We know you and your business add value to our community. Together, we will tell our community your business is ready to serve. Please go to depictions.media/advertising. This show has been produced by Depictions Media. Please contact us at depictions.media for more information.